What's up, everybody? It's your man Rob Nice. Figured I'm gonna start with some YouTube videos. Figured my Instagram reach is only so much, so I figured I'm gonna continue on with my channel, upload some more videos on there, go through some records, hopefully get some live feeds going so we can do some Q&A. Anybody who's into records, who's into vinyl, who is just started collecting, because I just recently read yesterday that they had vinyl had outsold CDs for the first time in decades. So that's like crazy because vinyl's been it, man. It makes its resurgence, its comeback, or whatever. So I figured I'd just run through, do a quick, I don't know, quick maybe 5-10 minute video, just to some stuff from my collection. And I like to get into more about the techniques, how other people dig, where they buy their records from, whether because I'm strictly old school. I like the original pressings. I mean, if they have a new record out and say it's like super duper rare, and I mean it's like hundreds of dollars or whatever, I'll settle for the repress as long as it's okay, but just to have it to play. But I always prefer looking for the original. It's just something about it. I mean, you just can't beat the sound that came from the original reel-to-reel pressed onto the acetate onto the vinyl. It's just everything's digitalized, just has a different sound to it. But since it is Sunday, let's go ahead and do soundtracks, because soundtracks I think are one of the most underrated things. People look for them, but not as much as say like the original artist. So good thing about soundtracks is it might be one particular artist that does it. It could be a compilation of artists that are on the soundtrack. And of course, my genre is always been like R&B, soul, funk, jazz fusion, and there's some really good stuff out there from mainly the early 70s on. So we're just going to do a few of these. Some of them I know based on the movie itself. You might not know about the soundtrack, so this is just something to basically give you a little bit of a breakdown on what to look for if you happen to start in the business, or we could just talk about the records in general. So let me go ahead and pull this stack over here that I pulled already for everybody. So the first one up, which is definitely a classic, everybody knows about it, is Willie Hutch The Mac. This is a classic movie. I think a lot of people know Willie Hutch. They've heard of him, or at least they've heard the samples, especially the I Choose You off of here. Everybody sampled it, from Outkast to everybody up and down. The line has done I Choose You, 3 6 Mafia. So this is definitely a classic album to have in your collection. It's getting harder to find because actually the repress is a full page, whereas the original actually has his face that opens up, which is pretty neat. If you look here, it kind of does this. It's got a gatefold of his face, so that's how you can tell the difference between the original. And of course, this was a Motown release because Willie Hutch was a songwriter and arranger for Motown. So the Mac, definitely something to have in your collection. Even if you're not into soul music, you can just recognize the classic samples. Here's another one that, of course, everyone knows about because everybody knows this one. Same thing with this. This is Superfly by Curtis Mayfield. This is definitely a classic album. Still gets sampled today. Still gets played on the radio. Everybody knows I'm Your Pusher. Everybody knows Little Child Running Wild and the original Freddy's Dead. This theme song to Shaft. This really just catapulted Curtis to the stratosphere. So this is getting a little tougher to find. I've seen it around here and there. People now seem to be record experts that weren't record experts a few years ago, and they're asking stupid money for this. But if you, on a good day, if you get a decent play copy, you're going to run you maybe between $5 and $10. It's definitely worth picking up for that. So just be on the lookout for this. And this is also a gatefold cover too, as if you see. This also has that, which is kind of cool for the time. So this was, I believe, this was 72. Yep. Let's do another one. A little more obscure stuff. This is one I bet a lot of people didn't know, but Barry White actually did a soundtrack to Together Brothers. This has actually been sampled a lot too. Ja Rule, everybody, but this has Love Unlimited on it. This is Barry White and Gene Page in their heyday, so everything on here is really good. A lot of lush orchestrations. It's just a really good soundtrack just to play. And the movie's kind of obscure. A lot of people haven't seen it. I've seen it. If you look it up on YouTube, it's on there. But this is another one. This is fairly cheap. You could find this one about anywhere. I've seen it at thrift stores. I've seen it at flea markets, even online if you want to shop online, which that's up to you. But this is definitely worth picking up if you're into Barry White sound, which yesterday was his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday to the maestro. And put Barry White in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's all I'm going to say about that. Here's another more obscure one. Really good album, Gordon's War. Paul Winfield, everybody's heard of the Paul Winfield actor. But this has Barbara Mason on it. It has The New Birth, and it's got classic samples. And this is just a really phenomenal, great, lush album. Child of Tomorrow is just... Whew, it's definitely you could put on and play. It's just so melodic. Very good album. Be on the lookout for it. This does not pop up a lot. I've seen going for a decent amount of money. But this is definitely one to have. I mean, is Barbara Mason still in her heyday? This is before she did Sheba Baby. But Gordon's War. This is another one off of Curtis Mayfield's label. Of course, you know his group. This is The Impressions. This is another blaxploitation soundtrack. It's got Jim Brown, Jim Kelly, Fred Williamson. Obscure movie, but of course this is The Impressions in their prime. This is after Curtis Mayfield had left. But it still has a Curtis Mayfield production on it, which is really cool because his stuff, it's just Curtis Mayfield. You know Curtis Mayfield sound. So this is another one to look out for. It's fairly economical. I mean, might run you, much as I've seen going for maybe 20. I wouldn't pay over 20 for it, but if you are into this and you like blaxploitation, this is a good one to have in the collection. Here's another one that is very... sought after because it's Bobby Womack, Across 110th Street. That's another classic movie, gangster movie, but of course the title soundtrack, Across 110th Street. Plus it's got Bobby Womack in his prime, and it's just a really good funky movie or funky soundtrack from a good movie. That's another one. But Across 110th Street, definitely one to have. And I got one more here. This is one that's real obscure. A lot of people want it. Of course, you have Charles Earland, and this is the Dynamite Brothers. This is a really jazz, fusion, funky album for a really obscure movie, and this is a really obscure soundtrack. This does not pop up a lot. A lot of people pay good money for this. I happened to get lucky one year at a record show and got it for a few dollars, so I'll take it. The cover's not great, but I don't care. I don't play the cover. I play the record. I'm not a record snob. I don't care about covers. I don't care if it's got water damage. As long as it plays on my turntable, that's all I care about. So this is one that you should definitely look out for if you like jazz fusion. Charlie Earland plays the piano, keyboard, clavinets, electric piano, synthesizers, all that. So it's got that funkiness to it. Plus it's got a lot of good name players on here. You got drum, Billy Hart's on drums. But this is definitely one to have. So... if you see this, definitely pick it up. Alright, and that's as far as soundtracks go. I figured, let's just get this started. If you like my page, definitely subscribe to it. I'm going to be doing this more and more, especially on the stuff that I find, all the digs that I find. If you like it, always hit me up in the comments. I'll reply back to you. I'm a big proprietor of sharing knowledge of music. I'm not a record snob. I don't care. I'm not here to say it's all mine. This is all mine records. You can't have any. I'm always out to teach and share knowledge of anything that I know. If you have any questions, where to look, where to get started at, or whatever, you just want to just kick it with knowledge of music and your own collections, that's fine too. But definitely hit the subscribe button, like me. Live comment on the video if you like it, and we're just gonna keep this going and probably drop a couple videos in the next few weeks and just see where this goes. So until then, man, it's Rob Nice.